Have you ever heard of Tagore?
Tagore? No, I haven't.
No.
Yes, I have. I've heard of Tagore.
Have you ever heard of Tagore dance?
So who is Rabindranath Tagore? Poet? Novelist? Songwriter? Playwright? Essayist? Composer? Nationalist? Visionary? Artist? Educationalist? Surprisingly, he is all of them.
Rabindranath Tagore is the cultural icon of India.
You can't do Indian culture without Tagore.
His talent touched every aspect of life, actually.
He influenced a whole generation of Indians.
There are only many names which can be compared with Tagore's.
I would say Tagore is an Indian icon, and he belongs to the whole of India.
Tagore was born in Kolkata in 1861 and was the youngest of 13 children. His early years were spent touring with his father in and around India. During these travels, the young Tagore was home educated and studied history, astronomy, modern science and Sanskrit. He also discovered poetry through Kalidasa. In 1878, Tagore enrolled at University College London to read law. He soon left, realising a barrister's life was not for him, but decided to explore the works of Shakespeare instead. He returned to Bengal in 1880, and by 1895 he had written some of his most important and remembered works, specifically Gitanjali in 1912. By now, his work was gaining him a large following in Bengali as well as foreign readers. On 14th November 1913, Tagore learned that he had won the 1913 Nobel Prize in Literature, becoming the first Asian Nobel laureate.
He was awarded Nobel Prize in 1913, just before the war, and at that time Tagore was a household name.
We're talking about a man that's written hundreds of poems, operas. People have turned these poems and created dance.
He has the intensity to say things which are not restricted. They transcend caste, culture, state. It's international. It will appeal to anyone.
When people read Tagore, so the eyes of the Indians opened for freedom of the country. And I think in many ways he was one of the pioneers of India's freedom movement.
We will never ever forget the values that has brought us where we are today. And that influence of Tagore has been very, very substantial. It's very difficult to find anyone comparable. Plus he was everything.
As a poet, novelist, musician and playwright, he reshaped Bengali literature and music in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Tagore was perhaps the most important literary figure of Bengali literature and a mesmerizing representative of the Indian culture whose influence and popularity spread internationally. Tagore could only be compared with the great geniuses throughout history. He is also perhaps the only literary genius who has written anthems of two countries, Bangladesh and India.
আমি বলেন যে উনি বলেন যে আমি শুনেছি তুমি খুব ভালো নাচো, আমাকে একটু নাচ দেখাও। আমি শাড়িটাকে কোমরে জড়িয়ে সঙ্গে সঙ্গে শাড়িটাকে কোমরে জড়িয়ে গুনগুন করে সুর দিয়ে আমার একটা দেবদাসী বলে একটা নাচ ছিল, সেইটা করলাম। তাই করলে উনি ডেকে বললেন, তুমি সত্যি বড় সুন্দর নাচো, তুমি শান্তিনিকেতনে চলো, ওখানে স্কলারশিপ দিয়ে
চোখের দেখা প্রাণের কথা সে কি ভোলা।
তখন তো মাত্র আমার 12 বছর বয়স। আমি গিয়ে দেখি কি যে উনি উত্তরায়ণের বাড়ির বাগানের দিকের বারান্দায় ওখানে বসে আছেন। এই হাতে রঙের এটা ধরা, আঙুলের মধ্যে 5 আঙুলে 5 রকম রং নিয়ে সে দিয়ে ছবি আঁকছেন। আমি ওর পিছনে দাঁড়িয়ে উনি তো জানেন আমি এসেছি, আমি দাঁড়িয়ে আমি দেখছি। তখন কিছুক্ষণ পরে উনি আমাকে বললেন, কি দেখছিস? আমি বললাম, দেখছি তো ছবি। বলে আমি আবার সেখানে থামলাম না। আমি বললাম কি, আমরা জানি সব ছবির একটা করে নাম থাকে। আমি বললাম, এই ছবির নাম কি? উনি বললেন, ছবির কি কোনো নাম হয় রে? ছবির নাম হয় না, ছবি ছবি।
শুধু তোমার বাণী নয় গো হে বন্ধু হে প্রিয়।
My parents had a very close connection with Tagore because they were part of Shantiniketan when he was there, so he actually taught my father. And in fact, Tagore's son, after his divorce, came and lived with us in Dehradun and died in our home.
Even though he was born 150 years ago, how is Tagore still relevant to our lives today?
Because it's multicultural society we live in now, it's easier showing that another part of the world had another big mind.
The issues which are bothering us in our everyday life, we are facing so many problems like fundamentalism, against racism, like women liberation, and all these things. He has just given the path how to combat these things.
If you put it in the right way, it can add a lot of depth to music and society today.
The Beatles had a brief go at his music. There are 1 or 2 Beatles songs. We were talking. That's very much like a Tagore song.
He just showed that human being is the important bit, not the caste, not the religion, nothing else.
He's a great writer, a great poet, and a great musician who has enriched our cultural heritage, and we need to spread that.
Any kind of emotion or expression you have in life, he has expressed it. So that he is a great consolation when you are, for example, feeling sad.
People today read his poems and find a spiritual solace in him.
He thought the problem of the world is not to become one by removing the individual differences, but unite by preserving them.
Especially young people will benefit and are going to better their lives by reading Tagore.
He said, I do not think that only or primarily material progress is for the welfare of mankind. It has to be something more, it has to be something else. We are about to forget it.
They spoke about emotional needs for women. He wanted the woman to walk with her partner in equal footing, and he did that over 100 years ago.
Problems of global warming and everything that's happening right now is because of our detachment from nature, because we never really considered the impact of our actions on nature. I think it's quite interesting that he thought of those things many, many years ago.
They are so relevant in today's day and age, but the same thing we come back again through expression, through dance, through his dance dramas. And that is an eternal message.
একটুকু কথা শুনি